Good evening, Garden City. I'd like to call to order regular City Council meeting for Monday, March 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our opening ceremony, which consists of the national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those service members who have given their lives for our country. If everyone would please rise. Mr. Smith, if you'd take roll, please.
Mayor Jacobs.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dold.
Here.
Councilmember Hughes.
Here.
Councilmember Witt.
Here.
Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Dold.
Here.
Councilmember Karafotis.
Here.
You have a quorum of 7.
Thank you. Item 4 is our approval of the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Monday, March 23rd regular council meeting agenda as presented.
Support. Support from Mayor Pro Tem Dole. Comments from the table? From public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we have no recognitions. I see no state or county officials. We do have a presentation today from Third Circuit Court of Michigan. It's an informational presentation, so I'd like to introduce Judge Lawrence Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here. As you said, my name is Lawrence Ellisell. I am a judge at the Wayne County Third Circuit Court downtown. It's a privilege and an honor to be here. Mayor, members of the council, city manager. I also saw some of the chiefs and higher ups here in the room as well, so thank you all for having me. I also have Mike Scott here. He's our communications director from the court as well. So why are we here? Let's get right to it. I'll be brief. We'll keep moving. We are doing community outreach. We are connecting with our cities, and one of the reasons is because the structure of our court is we are the higher court, or the court that is oversees, in a sense, all the city courts. So if you think about, your own city here, Garden City, your neighboring Inkster, Dearborn Heights, Westland, every city has their own district court, and that's a lot of times where cases start, depending on the type of case. Sometimes it transfers down to the circuit court on a criminal level. So we are involved. We work in collaboration with a lot of courts. We work in collaboration with a lot of other entities, and we'll talk about that briefly. A big part of what we are doing is just doing community outreach, introducing ourselves, trying to let people know what the court does. A lot of times we don't interact with the court as a citizen too often, so sometimes it's good to just kind of know what we're doing. We're all elected officials, just like you are here. and this is part of our community service and serving the citizens that we all are elected to serve. So a big part of what we do is criminal cases, we do civil cases, we do family law cases. So one way or another, we encompass a lot of our daily life issues. And it's not always bad. There's a lot of good things we do. We do adoptions, we do reunifications, we swear in new lawyers. So those are, we do that process when a lawyer passes the bar. They have to go through a swearing, and we handle that as well. Adoption Day is always a wonderful day for everyone on all sides of the table. We also do Law Day. It's a big event where we have high school students and other students come from all over the city and state, and we educate them about the law, and some have an interest to go into law, and some are accomplishing their community service requirements and everything else, but that's always a fun day for us to be involved with the community directly as well. I think we're here on the juror slide. I'm sorry, I forgot to give the prompt. There you go. All right. A large part of what we do, especially in the criminal division, is we have jury trials. That is where we have members of the community come in, they are summoned, and they have the opportunity to serve as a juror. And it's a big part of the process. It's a whole system. It's a whole process. It's one of the most important fundamental parts of our justice system, and we always emphasize that. Sometimes people consider it a frustration or an obligation, but really it's an opportunity. And usually, especially in our court, we have a new criminal justice center that was just built, and we're really excited about that. It's not often a courthouse or a part of a justice system gets a whole new building. So we have a brand new building. It's beautiful windows, a lot of light. The jurors that are selected and serve on a jury panel, their experience has been extremely positive. The feedback is wonderful. It really is. It's a good feeling. Once you get there, you are part of something. It's something larger than yourself, and a lot of the jurors really appreciate it. So with our new criminal justice center, we are able to serve the citizens of Wayne County much better. Parking is free. That's a huge thing. A lot of times at courts, that's not always a luxury. I know in Garden City, we don't charge for parking here, but in some of our buildings, because we're intertwined with the city-county building and other things, that is really not in our control, and it's just the reality of being a circuit court in the center of downtown. So we have 4 buildings. We have our criminal justice center, that's brand new. We have our family domestic division, that's where we have divorce cases, custody cases, parenting time issues, and all the other things related to family issues, and that's downtown at the, where you see the big statue or Spirited Detroit. That's our large section of the court, and that's where I'm actually stationed. I serve currently in the family domestic division of the Wayne County Court. I also served in the criminal division, and I currently handle sometimes both cases, depending on if there's a case that I handled before and something else comes up or something is filed on it. So, all right. Next slide talks about 3rd Judicial Circuit and its Michigan impact as a trial court. Again, as I explained early on, we sit above, for example, this court. So if someone were to come here, feel that they want to appeal something or they disagree with the ruling of the court here, they have the opportunity to appeal, and it would come down to our courthouse for another judge to review the proceedings and what happened on a legal sense at this lower level court, if you will. So there's a diagram there of the level. Our court, there's a court of appeals who sits above us. So each level of the court usually has a court that's above that citizens are able to appeal to if they have a concern or feel that they want to address something a little more detailed or more thoroughly with regard to appealing a legal issue in their trial. So there's the district courts, then there's our circuit court, then above us is the Court of Appeals, and then at all the way top, there is the Michigan Supreme Court. Just like there's the United States Supreme Court and the state, it mirrors that system, and we have a Supreme Court that sits in Lansing as well. All right. Next slide talks about just some overall birthday, 250th birthday as a union. And this is just kind of a little history lesson. It's interesting because the state court system wasn't expressly in the Constitution, and it's always, you think it would absolutely be in there, right? But the the federal Constitution initially, Article 3 created the federal judicial system and the federal judiciary, and what was supposed to happen where the states were supposed to be given authority to handle federal issues and make decisions. Long story short, fast forward, each state has its own constitution, as you know, And the state, the state of Michigan, just like any other state, has given authority to create what is our state system here, obviously in Michigan. So that's kind of a very short, brief history lesson. Talks about the Judiciary Act of 1789, which created the initial structure of the federal court, and now we've expanded that to include the state courts, and that is where we get our authority to serve as a judge and give an order that has authority behind it. All right, next slide talks about mission and vision. Again, our mission is to serve the community by providing accessible and equal justice for all. And that's truly what we believe in as judges. A lot of my colleagues and benchmates, we really, a big part of what we do every day is just really serve and protect due process, right? And that's a fancy way of saying that if any citizen in our community has an issue, whatever side they're on, if they're, even if it's a criminal case, we want to make sure that the process and they're treated fairly and the whole system is serving as it should, all right? So that truly is something in our heart, and that's something that we try to do. Our vision is to be an exemplary and innovative court. We do court in person and by Zoom, so we kind of are a little advanced, if you will, on the technology level. And we do that because, again, it's about access. So if someone doesn't have to leave their job, someone doesn't have to come downtown, pay for parking, they don't have to find a babysitter, they don't have to miss, a day of work. So sometimes that Zoom is truly a blessing for those that want to handle their case, or they want to talk about their, their custody issue, or whatever case it is, they have the opportunity to appear by Zoom. And a lot of the judges are flexible, and it's kind of a hybrid thing where we have some people in person usually every day, but we also have people on the screen. And depending on the level of the hearing, you usually can appear by Zoom. So, all right, about our court specifically, we have 60 judges in the Wayne County Circuit Court. So that's pretty impressive if you think about it. But we have 4 divisions, so, there's about 12 to 15 judges. Some have a little more, some have a little less in each division. There's 25 referees. Those are kind of mini judges, if you will, and they kind of do the first screening of family law cases when people come in and they're having parenting time disputes, or they're trying to figure out what would custody be and what would be best for the child. A lot of times they'll start with the referee, and the referee will kind of sit with the parties and get some background and information and put together a report, so when the judge gets it, we kind of have some background and history, and we're able to focus on the child and do what's best for that child to make sure that, both parents are involved, and we have a pretty decent, fair parenting time schedule and everything else. And it's really child focused. When you're in family court, you're in the domestic division, you'll always hear in the best interest of the child. That's kind of a very common theme, and that's really what the focus is. And our job as judges is to bring the parents and the family together to kind of remind them of that focus and try to do what we can to assist everybody to have just the best parenting plan possible, so the child has the best opportunity that that child can. 4 locations, I talked to you about that. We also have a family juvenile division for children that are under 18, and it could be for issues in the home, issues at school. It could be a number of things, and we have a specialized juvenile court. Again, we have the criminal division, and then the front of the court is in another building that is in the Penobscot building. So we have quite a bit going on in our court. Next slide talks about just the Wayne County Circuit Court in general, and this really just highlights the divisions and other entities that are not, I guess, expressly part of our court, but we work with them every day in and out, and we do a lot with them. So for example, the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, they provide security for the court, for the judges, for the jurors, of course, which is always the most important. We also work with the Wayne County Clerk and her, her division and her clerks, who serve us and are the keeper of the records, and then also the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, who handles all the criminal side of the prosecutions when things don't go so well for people. All right, next slide talks about the divisions. I've kind of intertwined this already, but this gives you a quick outline of what each division does. Civil, simple way to talk about this, and I usually tell people, this has to do when 2 businesses are in disagreement, or there's a contractual issue, or someone's in an auto accident, and now we're really dealing with the money part or the financial part. That's really what civil law is. Then we have the criminal law, and again, a lot of criminal cases start in the city that the crime occurred in, and if it's a more serious crime, it could always go downtown to the circuit court, to the felony division, if they are charged with a felony. So depending on the type of crime, it could stay in-house, meaning at the Garden City District Court, or if it's a more serious crime, a lot of times it's bound over and sent downtown to be dealt with in the felony process through one of the felony judges. Family domestic, I talked to you about that, divorce, child support, custody, parenting time, PPOs, personal protection orders. So there's a whole lot of things that happen in the family division of the Wayne County Circuit Court. And we deal with a lot every day, and it's one of the busiest divisions in that courthouse, and you'll see in the next slide in a moment the number of cases. And then family juvenile deals with delinquency when someone is under 18, and also adoption and guardian matters, and truancy when someone is not going to school as they should. Juvenile division handles all that. All right, almost there. One or two more slides. Talks about we are the busiest circuit court in Michigan. I think we're the busiest court in the world. It might be a personal feeling, but you could see the difference in cases. Civil cases are, about 18,000. I won't get into the numbers too much, but what's interesting is that criminal cases are 7,000, but family cases are 33,000. And that's just, the reality of sometimes people just can't get along, or there's some other issues, and there's a lot of filings. And again, remember, all our filings are not married people that have children. You could just have a custody case. You could have two people that have a child and they can't figure it out, or having issues, or whatever it is. They'll file their case for the court to handle and help them with custody agreements. And finally, our last slide is a magnificent photo of our bench. These are my colleagues and friends. I am somewhere way in the back, in the middle, if you're bored and you want to look for myself. But these are our team, and these are our judges, and these are all the judges from all the divisions: family, criminal, civil, and juvenile. And we are honored to serve, and we are honored to be able to communicate and meet many of you here today. And that's it. That concludes what I have. I just really wanted to do an introduction. I know it's a lot and a quick pace, but it's a good start and a good introduction and a good way to meet our neighbors. So with that, I would love any questions, or anyone.
Council have any questions for Judge LSL? I will thank you for coming in and
Of course,
and presenting all this information.
Mayor, what's interesting is I stood at this podium for many years as an attorney, and I would come before your Judge Hammer, and I would stand.
Which
literally
one?
In the stand. Richard.
Father and son.
Oh, okay, all right, all right. Well, then the father.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've been in this room many years and many times, so it's an honor to be back.
Thank
All right,
you.
Any questions?
Council.
I just have a comment.
Yeah.
I was glad to see that the family court is a higher number than the criminal court. That was actually lower than I thought
That's
it
a
was
good
going to be.
point. See, a positive spin. There you go. There you go. That's why you're on council. See? All right. That's a good way to look at it. I'll use that in my next speech.
There you go.
I appreciate that.
Mayor,
Councilmember King.
just a quick question. So regarding the judges, do you guys have like a geographical area, or when something gets appealed from Garden City, does it go to a certain judge, or does it go to any judge?
Cases are assigned randomly, so you don't know what's coming or what's not coming. So any case that, let's say it starts here on a criminal case and it's more serious and it goes downtown, the computer will just do a random assignment.
Okay.
But we are assigned to divisions. So if you're in a criminal, if you're in the criminal division, you'll just get that case, and you might not. You don't know until the computer assigns it.
Okay, thanks.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does, it
Okay,
does.
Yeah. So.
Further comments or questions?
And we cover all Wayne County, so we get criminal cases from every city in this county. So that's why we are very busy, a very busy courthouse, so,
Big load there.
yes, for sure.
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
How you doing?
All right, thank you.
I'm just curious, when you go through the procedure up to the Michigan Supreme
Sure.
Court, is that it, or can you take it further to the
There is a way to jump over into the federal system. I've never seen it done in my career, but there is a formal way to do that. If you truly appeal and go all the way to the Supreme Court, right, in the state, and you still feel that something was absolutely wrong and your rights were not honored or process wasn't there, you do have an opportunity to jump over and have it looked at even one more time. But usually that's the end of the road. Realistically, the Michigan Supreme Court, just like the United States Supreme Court, it's kind of the court of last resort. At that point, you've exhausted. Remember, you've started at a lower trial court, then you went to a court of appeals, now you're at another level. So it's usually been reviewed at least twice by the time it gets there. So,
Okay, thank you.
of course.
Further comments, questions? Anybody from the public want to ask a question?
I'm sorry to hand my back to you, but that's the way the room's set up. Yes.
Go ahead, come on up, Mr. Moeller.
Spent my $15 million. They tried to appeal it, and they wouldn't even take the case. So
You
it was
you
over.
mean you appealed the case and it
The
was,
city did,
okay,
and they refused to even take it.
okay, and that is, that happens often. Sometimes things are reviewed and it's up to those appellate judges, whatever level it is, to make a decision if they are, if there's enough issue for them to hear the case.
Well, there was definitely enough issue when our lawyer gave us $1 million towards a settlement. I think that would be a hell of a...
Okay, all right. You might be right. I don't know enough about the details, but I can talk to you
It's been a
about
while.
the procedure. I just know that they have to make a decision on, are there legal issues there that weren't addressed at the lower court for them to appeal?
You'd have to be up in line if you couldn't take it.
I'll trust you on that. You are much more familiar with the case than I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh,
Ca-
okay.
Council, any more questions or comments?
Nope.
Judge, again, I appreciate you coming
Of
in.
course, of
Council
course.
Thank you.
appreciates
Thank you
it.
for having
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you, counsel. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Okay, item 8 is community events. I believe Garden City Police Chief, Chief Arnosky is going to give us some info.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to come up and put out there that we are still running the Garden City Police Academy. We still have a few openings and are looking for a few more people that might be interested. Some information on it is it's a 10-week course. It will begin April 2nd, which is a Thursday, and run every Thursday from then for 10 Thursdays. The classes, we've added an extra half hour because we found that our instructors talk quite a bit, and 2 hours wasn't enough, so they run from 6 to 8:30. Anybody who lives in the city, has a business in the city, knows somebody in the city, goes to church in the city is eligible to apply. I have another one here that we've added a few more classes. So we also are going to be doing some arson investigation information. Lieutenant Smith's going to put that on. We're going to present a tech medical class, and also the one abbreviation that you got me on last time, CRAS, which is the Citizens Response to Armed Assailants, is also going to be presented at that one. So if you've taken the class before, you may want to try and sign up for another academy, just because we have changed some of the curriculum going forward. And if you were one of the originals, it has changed over the years since you've been there. So I extend the invitation to anybody that's interested. And like I said, we still have a few openings left, so thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief. And from what I've heard, it's an awesome class to attend. We have no petitions or communications. We do have a public hearing on the malicious use of service provided by a telecommunications service provider. Mr. Gibbons, if you'd like to explain it a little bit?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a public hearing to discuss the amendment of Ordinance 131.07, originally obscene or harassing telephone calls. Note the word telephone calls. The impetus behind this amendment is to modernize our harassing telephone calls ordinance to make it more modern for the more unique ways of communications we have these days. More than likely, most of our telephone calls are coming from telemarketers these days, and a lot of our communication is being done through text, email, Snapchat, Instagram, and all other manner of electronic telecommunication. So in order to modernize it, we've completely redone our Ordinance 13107, now titled Malicious Use of Service Provided by Telecommunications Service Provider, in order to encompass all the different ways you might call and harass someone or be harassed, so that it's much more enforceable on our local ordinance level, which, just to build upon, the circuit court judge's statements, our local ordinance are enforceable here, and they could stay in the 21st district as misdemeanors. That's what this is, and allows our judge here to utilize our ordinances to protect our citizens when they're being harassed via telecommunication device.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will open up the public hearing for anybody wishing to speak on this ordinance.
I'm just curious if this is going to include like social media as well, or is it mostly things that are pertaining to like phones, tablets, calls, and texts and that kind of stuff?
Go ahead.
Certainly, any telecommunications device, so if that's social media, communication was occurring through a cell phone, tablet, anything that uses telecommunication services, which is defined very broadly, you know, and, you know, our police department has reported finding that that is becoming a more common way, as opposed
Communicating
to.
not in person,
Yes.
basically.
Okay. Any further public comment? Also residents?
Good evening. As the police chief, though, I just wanted to come up and let council know that the police department does support the amendment and the update to this, and we're actually happy to see it, so it will give us more enforcement power. We encounter this problem a lot of times as people are being harassed now by social media, texts, and other sources other than phone calls, and we don't have a method to get them justice, so to speak. So this will let us take more action for them. So thank you very much for your time today.
Further comments from the public? I'll ask one more time. Any more comments from the public on this? Okay, at this time, I will close the public hearing on that. And next up is our consent agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A1 through 4 as presented.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Hughes. Discussion from the table. From the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, on to our action items. First one is the ordinance amendment that we just had a public hearing on.
Mayor,
Councilmember King.
I move to approve the proposed ordinance amendment to Chapter 131 of the Garden City Code of Ordinances, amending Section 131.07, obscene or harassing telephone calls, to 131.07, malicious use of service provided by telecommunications service provider, as presented.
Support.
Support from Mayor Pro Tem Dole. Discussion from the table.
Mayor,
Mayor,
go ahead, Don.
Go ahead, Councilmember King.
overall, I think this is a great update because the previous one was very brief. However, I do have a couple concerns on some of the wording in the new proposed ordinance. The first one was basically in the first section, Section A. I'll just read it as it reads. A person who maliciously uses any service provided by a telecommunications service provided with intent to terrorize, frighten, intimidate, threaten, harass, molest, or annoy another person, or to disturb the peace and quiet of another person by doing any of the following is guilty of a misdemeanor. The one word I have concern was the word annoy. It seems very subjective and could be used for, abuse, I guess, is my thought. Everything else, terrorize, frighten, intimidate, obviously we shouldn't be doing that through text, but annoy,
Pretty broad.
yeah, it's pretty broad.
It is broad, but also, to establish the violation of any ordinance, you have to have two things. One is the actus reus, means you did something, and two, the mens rea, which means you had some type of criminal intent included with that action. So sort of embedded with any word we're using in the course of this ordinance, there has to be some type of criminal intent. I think what your fear, and logically, would be, I'm just trying to get a hold of someone, and I don't know that I'm annoying them, and they're being annoyed. Well, you would have to have some type of articulation or some type of knowledge demonstrated. Of course, this is ultimately up to the judge or a jury, but as presented is that they have some type of intent to commit some type of criminal act that was duly notified by this ordinance. And I think the concept of, terrorize, frighten, intimidate, threaten, harass, molest, or annoy, broadens it enough to be sufficient to prevent someone doing it who we may have a difficulty putting into those other categories. Certainly, it's council's, choice to determine what these words mean, but our city attorney drafted this based on researching other telecommunications ordinances such as this in our area and felt necessary to include it. I understand why, but I understand why also it might be regarded as too broad. But I think broad is what we're shooting for with this ordinance to a certain degree because of the variety of ways in which you can contact someone in a way that's of criminal intent through our various communication devices. So
Bless you.
just to provide the background on why that word's there.
Other comments from the table?
Mayor,
Council,
I have just one more. So section 6,
which 6? There's 2.
under A6, it talks about making an unsolicited commercial telephone call that is received between the hours of 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. However, there's a federal law that says from 9 p.m. to 8 a.m. So I think this one kind of conflicts a little bit with the federal rule. Then with preemption, I don't know if we'd be able to hold somebody to this if there's a federal one with a different time frame. And I think it also adds a little complication in there. I think if anything, we should at least match what the federal level.
No problem aligning with that. While I don't believe there's anything for us that would prevent us from broadening it, as long as we're not saying you can before 8 a.m., because the federal law, it sounds like, controls from 9 a.m. to 8 a.m. But there's nothing wrong with if council's preference is that the hours match. That's a logical way to operate.
we have 2 6s in there.
Yeah, there's 2
This is
6s.
A.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, there are 2 6s actually.
There's 2
Yeah, there should
Okay.
be 7 and then an 8.
It's the first 6.
Yep.
Yeah, that's misnumbering. And that's all I have. Just wanted to get other council feedback, and possibly changing A6, the first 6, to match the federal rule. And I'd still like to see A, striking the word annoy. I think it still holds enough weight, and it's much better than we had prior, but that's just my feeling.
We can discuss it.
Oh, mine was just to make a housekeeping note to adjust the numbering on that, so it will be 678 instead of 667.
Second 6 to 7 and 7 to 8. Okay, further comments, discussion from the table? Councilmember Dole.
I agree with Councilmember King that we should probably change the B6 to 9 to 8 a.m. But as far as the other issue, with your explanation, I mean, when there's criminal intent, I don't have a problem with that being in there, because I can picture, I've actually been a victim of that, being criminally annoyed, and I just think it should stay.
Further comments from the table? Further comments? Comments from the public?
Oh, I have a comment. I thought you were talking about Dom. Okay.
Councilmember Karafotis.
So just clarifying, 6 is actually telemarketers, right? That's what it's for.
No,
Just
yes.
commercial telephone call.
Commercial telephone call, yes.
So any telemarketers are not supposed to call during that time for us.
In that time, correct.
And if our time is different, how would they know if they're going by the federal?
How would they know, I'm sorry, you mean they're in a different time zone, or do you mean?
Or something. I'm saying, do most telemarketers go by a federal time zone and ours is different?
Well, it's not necessarily time zone, it's just the time of
But
day.
I mean, the time of day is what I'm talking about.
Right, and really, it's up to council if we want to say, yeah, at 8:05 is too early for a telemarketer to be calling me, or 9 a.m. Federal law does prohibit for 8 a.m., so, and as far as if preemption issues exist, that's always possible. I mean, that would be something someone could bring up if they were found responsible of it, but it's more of a nuanced determination, legal determination. So I still feel like if it was in there, it wouldn't invalidate the entire ordinance. There is a severability clause that we have with our ordinances, so, I understand the matching the 9 to 8, though. It does make it simpler.
Right.
And, it's easier probably to hold federal, or telemarketers who are national calling you to the federal standard and say, well, we gave you notice, it's the same as the federal standard, so.
Okay. And then about number 8, and it says that they have to be in some kind of dating relationship or affectional involvement. Is that for everything? I mean, there's people that annoy other people all the time that aren't in a dating relationship. There's people that harass people. Does that just not apply, or that's just general knowledge?
Just trying to understand the,
That's what I'm saying. The other ones cover that, and this is separate?
you know, the terminology used here is generally related to domestic violence. So,
But I'm saying it doesn't have to be just that. All the other ones cover like a business or a neighbor or whatever, right?
yeah, the conduct is still prohibited whether you're 8 or not. This is just
Okay, that's what I was just
all of
double-checking.
those.
Okay.
But specifically, you know, I imagine our city attorney is drafting this in the manner to consider dating relationship to be something that gets a little extra protection just because of the nature of, especially telephone harassment, texting harassment, the threatening, the things that can come through that in relation to a
Yeah, I
dating
mean, there's
relationship.
Facebook stuff and all
Yep.
that, so, okay, thank you.
Further comments? Table. Councilmember Hughes.
With regards to Councilmember King's mention of annoy, it is pretty broad. I mean, we ask our attorneys for these things, you know, with their, you know, understanding that we're basing it on their knowledge, but it does seem pretty vague in the sense that my annoying is different than your annoying, and then how do you prove somebody's intent, you know, if they are just, in my words, I would think, you know, if they were just annoying. I mean, does it muddy the water for us, or does it create, you know, a revolving door of somebody claiming that their neighbor's annoying, you know, or something?
Go ahead,
Go.
Mr.
Oh, that's all right.
Smith. if you
That's
got
my
an answer.
question.
So I don't want to speak for the city attorney on this, but in reading it, the way you kind of want to approach it is that Section A is kind of a broad term definition of these are the negative, you know, effects felt by the victim. But it does say, you know, all these things by doing any of the following, which is guilty. So the sections 1 through 8 is where it kind of lays out more in detail, where it's just like, well, what constitutes annoyance? And that would be the items in 1 through 8 are where it's more defined.
Thank you.
Where I think that section A is just kind of the, you know, this is the negative effect that the victim felt.
Okay.
But how did they, you know, what was the action that caused them to feel this way?
Oh.
And that's what 1 through 8 kind of spells
Okay,
out.
thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, ultimately, it's 1 through 8 that defines whether the ordinance was violated, not an interpretation of the term annoying. It has to be whether these 1 through 8 have been violated. I think they're just, the broader terminology is to recognize that this type of conduct, if that's what your purpose was, you know, has that impact, as the clerk stated.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the clarification too. That does sound a little better because I can read number 3 is deliberately refusing or failing to disengage a connection between a telecommunications device and another telecommunications device. So therefore, that could be annoying. I mean, if you're asking somebody to discontinue this conversation and they refuse, so that's, if I'm reading that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, in some other in particulars, you know, some of our senior population can be manipulated by phone, as we've noticed, you know, taking reports at the police department with fraud and things like that. But maybe the act doesn't get carried out, and maybe the intent of fraud can't be proven. But we certainly can establish that maybe through a recording or some evidence of multiple calls and multiple questions where some of this behavior, and utilizing the word annoy is that broader way we can encompass some of those.
Okay. Further comments?
I have one more.
Councilmember Karafotis.
This includes everything like Venmo and all the ways to send money and all that too, right? People
You know,
can
it
get,
just depends on the manner in which, I know.
well, because they could get harassed through Venmo saying, send us the money. You know, you said that about seniors now.
Yeah, with the repeated request and things
Yes.
like that, sure. And I'm trying to think of the context in which Venmo, but yes, yeah.
I have one, Mayor? I have one more, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, does council want to change this to the federal time of 8 a.m., and do we want to make it 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? I'm not sure what the federal,
The federal one is based on the time zone that the call is being placed to.
our
Okay.
time zone.
So do we want to make that 8 AM to match the federal?
Well,
Yes.
it's the
That would be,
motion maker and the second that have to make the
You have to-
determination.
Councilmember King and Mayor Pro Tem Dolt, they agree to that.
Yeah, I'd be fine, modify my motion to include the change to A6, changing the time from 9 PM to 8 AM.
I'm also good with that.
Got that change, Mr. Okay. Further comments from table? From the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 2 is our 2026 concrete reconstruction program. I'll call Mr. Omen up, DPW Director.
Want to make sure.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening, we have 3 contract proposals for our 2026 road bond projects. All 3 are contract extensions with proven experienced contractors, which all 3 have done numerous work for us in the past. All 3 are very professional. They work great with the residents, and they're very good at what they do. The first one is the concrete reconstruction program. The roads to be done are Maplewood from Henry Ruff to Harrison, Pardo from Middle Belt to Garden, John Hawk from Middle Belt to Harrison, Garden, Ford Road to John Hawk, Hartel, John Hawk to Pardo. All these roads were rated very poor on our Pazer study. Hard Rock Concrete has offered a contract extension with just a small increase due to the rising cost of concrete. Hard Rock has done many projects for us in the past and have always done a great job.
Okay, I will say this, on page 2, from the letter from Hennessy, we have 6 roads. We repeated John Hawk, Middle Belt to Harrison. So on page 4, 3 or 4, whichever way you want to go, it's in the correct order. We have 5 roads.
Yep.
The second sheet has 6, which Middle Belt to Harrison is on there twice, so. Okay, looking for a motion from table.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract extension for the 2026 concrete reconstruction program with Hard Rock Concrete of Westland, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $6,465,308 with a 10% contingency, and to approve design and construction services with Hennessy Engineers of Southgate, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $636,988.98, and to approve construction management services and inspection fees to the Bacilli Group of Livonia, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $149,946 for a combined project total $7,252,242.98.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Karafotis. Discussion from table.
Mayor?
Councilmember Dole.
I have a couple of questions. So the sealant that's going to be added, that appears to be a little costly at $1 per square foot. Is it possible, does that sealant have to be applied to the entire road, or can we pinpoint the areas that are getting the most stress put on them, or maybe salt from the main roads, that kind of thing?
John Hennessy from Hennessy Engineers is here tonight. He might be able to speak more on that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nice to see everyone. The sealant is an expensive addition to there, and it's to prevent some of the flaking that you see through there, because we have the owner of Hard Rock here to present a little bit of a further in-depth conversation, but they've changed the type of cement, the Portland cement that's in concrete. Concrete is a mixture of a variety of components. There's aggregate there, there's sand, there's water, there's Portland cement, and now we had a Portland cement that was referred to as a type 1 cement that had a max of 5% limestone in it. They've increased that to 10 to 15 15%, and that's created a little bit more of a paste that it's a little bit more susceptible to salt drip from cars through there, and that's why you see it so often in the gutter pan. And we're going to work with Brad to and Hard Rock to look to see if there are roads that we may do and some roads that we might do a little less sealant on through there. Some of the roads that are very important to us, Maplewood obviously is a very important roadway through there that receives a tremendous amount of traffic. It's going to receive a lot of salt runoff from adjoining county roadway systems through there. So that's a road in particular we're pretty worried about, that we're going to go full through complete sealant upon. So these are not to exceed costs. The cost may come in less when we're done with the project, and we'll bring a summary to the council afterwards.
Okay, makes sense. I have another one.
Go ahead.
This is going further into the packet, the project proposal from Bucelli. On the rates and amounts, the total amount per project is per engineering drawings and contractor inspector days. Prices do not include testing, staking, layout, or cost associated with survey. And that's on each one of these, each one of the proposals. So is there do we have an estimate? What are we looking at there? Is it sometimes?
Well, this is something that's in Hennessy's bid as far as the survey and as far as
Yeah,
the
we
testing.
do the in-house. We have a national certified laboratory in our facility, so we do all the testing through there. We do all the layout through there, and that's written up in our construction costs. So
that's kind of a moot point, being just paperwork. It is nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Further comments from the table?
Here.
Councilmember Hughes.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Hennessy.
Good evening.
On your memo here, you mentioned that the material price increase is $1.50. However, on the quote from
There was
$1.25. So I just want to make sure that when, calculations were
the
done.
price reflects $1.25. I went through the math through there, and then obviously GV cement is $1.50. There's a little difference between GV cement and Hard Rock. Hard Rock is laying down quite a bit more concrete than GV is as a sectioning contract, and that's what is the separation between the $1.25 versus the $1.50. But it equates to about 14 cents to 17 cents a square foot, which doesn't include any material increase, obviously, on their labor. It's just a pass-through for them from the supplier.
Mayor,
Comment. Councilmember Karafotis.
so this is all coming from the road bond, right?
Correct.
All of it's being paid for by the road bond. And then, did you say that the Hard Rock is going to come up and talk? Because I know you said a little bit about the limestone, but
Yeah, you
our
want to come up and Tony give a...
our residents have a lot of questions about, how the roads don't last as long, that kind of thing.
Hi, my name is Tony Cromaldi. I'm the president of Hard Rock Concrete. I started Hard Rock Concrete in the early 90s with my father. Fortunately, my father passed away 11 years ago, and now I have my two sons working with me, so it's 3 generations. We're right on Ford Road and 275, so we love working here in Garden City. It's so close. My concrete supplier is Vince Messina. He owns Messina Concrete. I've worked with him for 15 years. That's why my price increase is less than everybody else's, because I really went to bat and said, hey, I love working in Garden City. Got to keep these prices down so we can get this job again. So that little $1.25 a square yard, it just covers the increase of the cement, because concrete's made out of cement, sand, limestone, additives, water, and the cement is what keeps going up, because there's only like 2 huge manufacturers in the whole country that supply the cement. So they really kind of got it strangleholded.
Well, I guess the question is, you talked about the limestone.
Yes.
And so when residents ask questions, they always ask, well, it's different now. It's made different, doesn't last as long.
Yeah.
So
that was federally mandated by the government to keep emissions down. They have no choice. Any concrete company, Messina, Hercules, whoever, They have no choice. That's the only type of cement they can get with limestone.
But we can't make that choice to say, hey, we're choosing this lower grade cement over higher grade.
No,
That's what I'm saying.
because there is no other choice.
That's what I'm saying.
unless you wanna
Everybody
go
has
to-
the same choice, right? They're
Right,
saying-
unless you want to go to Turkey, that's the only other place that makes the cement. Now, I kind of think that the government's like, oh, wow, we got, a little issue with some pitting and popping. That's why they lowered the percentage that's going to help. Like 2 years ago, it was pitting everywhere. Last year, just a couple little spots here and there in the curb and gutter. I think this year is going to be even better. I think quietly, they're going to resolve the problem.
And that has nothing to do, like people always mention about how thick it is,
No, it has. That's just cosmetic.
That's just on the top,
They've done 4
right?
samples, and it tests fantastic.
I just want to be clear for our residents. because-
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Tony, if I just could, we had a wonderful conversation
Yes.
a week ago where I felt like you provided a decent amount of information. Some of the concern, like we have Rush Street, which is very close to Warren, and there's just a ton of salt runoff. One, our DPS doesn't salt our new roads.
Right.
Brad keeps an eye on it, and I know you communicate a lot with Brad to make sure that's the case. But
Yeah.
there are some roads that are located very close to major
They
county roads.
salt Warren Road, Middle Belt, like big time. They actually ran out of salt because they use so much salt. Seems like nowadays they're doing a lot less pushing. As soon as they get a little bit of snow, they salt it. So what happens is these cars that are running on Warren Road turn into Rush Street or whatever street, and they go park, and then when it sits there, the little bit of salt that's on the vehicle, because it's warm, drips down in the curb and gutter, and that's why you see just a little bit of pitting in the curb and gutter, not so much in the center of the road. So I don't know.
Yeah,
another way
these
to-
are the tough decisions we make, and that's one of the reasons we discussed some of the sealant.
The sealer does work fantastic. The sealer, it's a high penetrating sealer. It's not a water-based, it's not an inexpensive sealer. It penetrates the surface of the concrete, which is like skin, it has pores, and it stops from any freezing or any popping, and it works.
So that would be beneficial to do that on, like, maybe the beginning parts of like Rush or other streets that are right off Middle Belt, Warren, Merriman, that kind of thing.
I mean,
not all of Maplewood. I'm
I'd
just
like to
saying
do
like the
them
first
all.
20 feet or something. Well,
No,
that would be how
I'd
much?
like-
Millions more dollars.
But there is a cost that goes with it that does, these aren't easy decisions.
I
These
think
are,
that if you seal everything out of that $6,500,000, I think the price will come out to $500,000 or $600,000. Now, if you want to take it off the $6.5 million, I don't care. I mean, I'm still going to apply the sealer. So and there is a less expensive sealer that's still a high penetrating sealer. Maybe put the less expensive stuff on the streets that aren't right off, like Maplewood, I would definitely.
But I mean,
do
a
it.
street that's just connected to another side street maybe doesn't need that
Correct.
heavy-duty sealer. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question real quick.
Yes.
Regarding the sealer, is it a yearly thing, or just we're talking about the new concrete to get it to the point
The
it's cured
first
enough?
year is the most crucial because that concrete's still curing. Concrete, let's say, what is this program at, 3,500 PSI or 4,000?
Yeah, 4,000 PSI.
4,000. So the concrete mix design that's in this program is 4,000 PSI. Concrete gets harder and harder the older it gets. And then it starts degenerating and getting weaker and weaker. It usually lasts about 30 years. So that first year, you got to remember, say we pour those roads in July or August, they're getting salt on them in 2-3 months. They're cured enough to drive vehicles on there, but they're still a little bit tender on the top. So I would put the sealer down.
Actually, spray on.
It's a spray-on sealer. It has to be applied in, I believe, 70 degrees or higher, so that's another thing, right? I mean, it's got to be applied at 70 degrees, and that concrete needs to be at least 28 days old before you can apply it. Because if you apply it too early, it still hasn't cured.
Does it have to be applied again was the question.
I'm sorry?
The question was, does it have to be reapplied?
When you apply it, like the first year, it's when it's the most tender. Then after that first year, evaluate it. If it looks great, you're good. Leave it be. I did my driveway at my house stamped concrete, so I spent a ton of money on this beautiful stamped concrete. I applied that sealer every single year, and it looks like I did it yesterday, and it's 14 years old. But it's expensive.
We apply a sealer to the concrete
Oh,
in
it
the
works
backyard.
fantastic, especially in Michigan. We had a brutal winter. It got super, it was weird. It rained really hard, and then it went below freezing. That's not good. Not good for anything. And I've been over here in Westland, Ford Road and 275 for 30 years. This year was the first year some of our man doors, we couldn't open them on the back of our building. Our concrete actually rose. The frost went super deep this year, like probably close to 36 inches, which that's deep because foundations are 42 inches. You know, so we have some, and we had some crazy weather out east too. You're talking 5-6 feet of snow, so, you know.
One more thing,
We
Mayor.
won't put the sealer on a second year. In Tony's application, when you're talking about driveways, lots of times that's to actually bring out the color in the driveway.
Yes,
And things like that, which makes it pop, which is a kind of a smaller application. But roadways, what we've determined is once we've sealed it once, and we really get that full year of curing through there, that, we're in good shape. We prevented the...
That chipping occurs like on the top 16th of an inch or
Yeah.
32nd of an inch. So that sealer will penetrate the top of that, no problem. You shouldn't, I would say on the roadways, one time. And when I put the prices down for the sealer, I did send spec sheets with it.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
in
shows everything in there. They're used on bridges and expressways and porous concrete,
So,
Councilmember Dole.
thank you. We're going to have the roads closed, obviously, while they're being redone. Then they have to cure for 28 days. So
Before you could put the sealant.
Before you can put the sealant
You
on.
can drive on it within usually 5 to 7 days. You haven't.
Right, so we will open them back up, and then we're going to have to close them again to put the
But good
sealant
thing
on.
about the
For how
sealer,
long?
You can drive on it in 3 hours.
Okay.
So we'll do one half the road. We'll tell everybody, hey, everybody get out of your driveways and park over here. We'll sprint. By the time we start on one end of the street and get to the other end of the street, you can pretty much drive on it.
Okay, thanks. That's
Yeah.
what I was wondering, what the
that
time was.
That
Thank
would
you.
be pretty harsh if you had to close everything back up and then wait another 7 days.
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
I have one more question that
Yes.
everybody in Garden City is asking that lives off Maplewood. When you start Maplewood, are you doing all one side from start to finish and then the other side? Or are you doing a section like from Harrison
So
and then
that's
about both
something we'll
sides?
sit down and talk about in the pre-construction meeting when we know what's going on with the hospital, because there's a hospital there, right?
Yeah.
So what, they're.
And school.
School, yeah, we'll probably start Maplewood when the schools are out. This way, there's no bus traffic to deal with. But we could do it two ways. We could start on one end and go all the way down to the other end. But when we get down to the other end, we're gonna have to wait 7 days in order to start back on this side so you can put traffic on there. But we could pick the middle. We could do one side all the way up to the middle. So I think it's like 6,000 or 7,000 feet. We could do like 3,000 feet to where there's a turnaround. We can get cure time, then we can do this side, and then we can go all the way down, and then we can grab that last little piece. But we'll figure it out which way it'll work the best, where it's not gonna, inhibit the traffic going, and whichever ways, we'll sit down and figure out with Tennessee and
And work with
Charlie.
police and fire as well.
Yeah.
So that they
Thank you.
need a little bit of
Yeah.
sequence.
Yeah.
And hospital.
I mean, we did some pretty hairy roads where it was tight traffic, and somehow we always get through it,
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Further comments from table?
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I guess we're so used to now road projects for the last handful of years. What is your idea of a timeline with like Maplewood? Because we've had contractors come in, rip up a road, wait 4 months,
No.
and then place a road.
Well, you could look at the projects I've done with Garden City. I finish all of them, no problem. I mean, we have 80 employees. What's special about our company is we set up the barricades ourselves. We have our own saw cutting crews, we saw cut ourselves. I have all my own gravel trains, it's like I have my own trucking company. I do all the removals myself, haul it away myself. I pull all the dirt out myself. I do all the edge drain myself. I stone it myself. I form it, I pour it, I saw cut it. The only thing I don't do is the restoration behind the curb because I got, bigger fish to fry. I'm doing road. So I can get Maplewood done easily. Like, I can do all those streets, no problem. Yeah, I mean, it's a big project. It's $6 million, but last year, what did we do here? We did $4 million last year? So we did $4 million here last year, and I did $21 million in Livonia. I did Farmington Hills, so I could easily blow through these projects. I actually left a huge window open for Garden City. There was other jobs that I could have filled my schedule with, but I'm like, I want to work here. It's close to my shop, and, it's close to the concrete supplier.
It's just, I also live on Maplewood too, so
Okay.
I know it's going to be a tough, fun time with it all being done, so.
Yeah, but the nice thing about Maplewood, we can measure the width from curb to curb, and if we think we can get traffic going both ways, we could put two-way traffic on one side while we do the one side. So really,
Full width paving.
yeah, well, it's kind of full width. That's another thing. I have 8 paving machines that I can make any size I want. Full width, like 40 feet wide with curb and gutter, or just 10-foot lane or 12-foot lane. We'll do Maplewood is what, 21 feet?
It's at back curb is about 21 feet.
Okay, so 21 feet, we'll set up a paving machine, and it's not crowned like this, it's like this, all the water's on the gutter on that side, right? So we'll set up a paving machine like this, we'll do a curb and gutter mold on each side. We'll actually drive the concrete trucks in the grade and pour in front of the machine. The machine has augers, so like, let's say we're pouring concrete right here, and I want concrete over there. You pour it into the auger, and the auger brings it to over there. Then when you get the concrete that you want there, the operator kind of puts it in the middle, and then the vibrators and tamper bars start moving, and the machine like paves a road at a walking pace. Literally, both curbs up, you just got to touch it up and then broom it. So the nice thing about that is we can keep traffic going both ways on the other side. And is there turnarounds on Maplewood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could enter like the concrete trucks from the turnaround, bring them in the grade, pour them out, and back them out, so. And we have, flag guys on each side, holding up traffic to get trucks in and out. But yeah, I've done several like that where there's an island in the middle where it's really like 2 roads because you got curb and gutter on one side going all the way down, and you got curb and gutter coming all the way back, you know what I mean? So,
Well, all 3 schools get out by the middle of June, so we'll see you on the 20th, right?
okay.
All right, thank you. Further comments from the table? From the public? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 3 is 2026 concrete sectioning. Mr. Omen.
Yes, Mayor, concrete sectioning program. Sectioning is pretty much replacing certain panels of the road which have failed. Sectioning can turn a so-so road into a very good road. This year's program will focus on the southeast part of the city. GV Cement has offered a contract extension with just a small increase in concrete. They have been our sectioning contractor for a number of years, and they've always did a great job for us.
Motion is in order.
Mayor?
Councilmember Dole.
The motion to approve the contract extension for the 2026 concrete sectioning program with GV Cement Contracting from Brownstown, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $700,000 with a 10% contingency, and to construction services with Hennessy Engineers of Southgate, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $24,500, and to approve construction management services and inspection fees with the Buccelli Group of Livonia, Michigan, in an amount not to exceed $57,486 for a combined project total of $781,986.
Support.
Or from Councilmember King. Discussion from the table.
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
this is from the road bond too, right?
Yes, but we also do have additional money coming in from the state this year from the increased marijuana tax. So, depending on where we land with sealing and depending on where we land on that total Maplewood John Hawk Pardo project, we may be utilizing some of that, but we have a fair amount of money in our road, local
Not coming
roads.
from the general fund, I'm just clarifying.
No, these are all local roads
Okay.
or major road funds or our bond.
Okay.
So, I'm going to try and get the most out of this summer.
Thanks, Brett.
Further questions, comments from the table? From public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 4 is the 2026 Joint and Crack Sealing Program. Mr.
Yes,
Ullman.
Mayor, this is also a road bond project. Joint crack sealing is a very good preventative maintenance tool. It's an economical way to extend the life of a road by sealing all the cracks so water can't penetrate and then freeze in the winter and go through all the freeze-thaw cycles. This year's program is in the northeast corner of the city. L's Asphalt has been our contractor for this program since 2023, and they've always did a nice job with us.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Hughes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract extension with Al's Asphalt of Taylor, Michigan for the 2026 Joint and Crack Sealing Program for an amount not to exceed $300,000 with a 10% contingency, and to approve construction services with Hennessy Engineering of Southgate, Michigan, in the amount not to exceed $10,500, and to approve the construction management services and inspection fees from Buccelli Group of Livonia in an amount not to exceed $35,979 for a combined project total of $346,479.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Witt. Discussion from the table.
Mayor,
Councilmember Hughes.
I just want to say, I live on, the street I live on, they do the seal and crack all the time, and I've been there for over 25 years now. And I think it really has extended the life of that road.
Oh, yes, yep.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Further comments from the table? From public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman. Mr. Hennessy.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, item 5 is handrails on the fire station bid. Chief Keen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight, you have a handrail bid that we put out. This is the essential part for the entry points into the fire station. Number one, for safety and accessibility, anywhere you have ramps for the station, can help prevent slips, trips, falls, and it's required by code anywhere there's a ramp higher than 6 inches. So you'll have 4 of those in the station. This was sent out to bid. We did receive 4 bids. 2 of the bids were very competitive price-wise. The other ones were a little bit higher. Based upon the review by our project management company and our staff, we recommend that we use Victorian Steel LLC to fabricate and install the handrails.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to award the contract in accordance with bids submitted on March 11th, 2026 for fire station renovation handrails to Victorian Steel LLC of Bruce Township in the amount of $19,700 with an additional $2,500 approved as contingency funds.
Support.
Or from Councilmember King. Discussion from the table.
Mayor, I'm just curious, because the 2 lowest bids were so close to each other.
Yes.
Was there any other defining factor other than the cost?
After review, they were both qualified, they're both capable and have the availability and they're able to provide the services as provided, but yes, they were, our project management company who's worked with both these, I guess, so they said based upon the cost, they selected that one as also.
I was just
They are very
curious.
close.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 were kind of a
Yeah,
little bit
quite a
higher,
bit
and they
more,
were close.
actually,
It was
yeah.
sort of strange, so.
Okay, thank you.
Further comments from the table? From public?
We go over the fire station again. Is this for the handrails for the ramps that they recently passed to put an extra ramp in?
Yes. They're for the ramps at the access points to the station.
Well, are the ramps already there?
They are.
Why?
Mr. Molnar?
Why didn't you put them in when you put the ramps?
With the renovation, they were just put in.
Yeah, I know. But do you know any handicap ramps that don't have handrails? I don't.
Why the bid?
So why wasn't they?
That's why we're discussing it.
Would have been a lot cheaper, probably then.
No, they just put them in and now we're putting up the rails. They just put the ramps in, now we're putting up the rails.
Right, they should have put the handrails in when you put the ramp in.
We are, that's what this
When
is
you
for.
could work with the cement.
When the ramps aren't used right now, the access points that they're at aren't open to the public right now.
I know, but you have to drill into the concrete.
Yes.
To anchor the ramps, and if you'd have done it the right way, you wouldn't have had to drill into the concrete. You could have fixed it when you poured the concrete. Put a Dixie cup in there. I mean, God's sakes. And now you're redoing everything in that fire station evidently because it's an 8-month project and it's 3 years. Are they ever going to finish it?
Will be finished.
Did they do the roof?
Well, we're discussing the handrails, right?
All right, but it's still ridiculous to have them guys living like that for 3 years.
Further comments from the table? Any other comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item 7-6 is the batting cages for Radcliffe. Mr. King, Parks and Recreation Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is a proposal for two 55-foot cages for hardball, softball, and baseball at the Radcliffe Center. Over the past few months, now that the gym has been up and running, we have an open gym program running there. Lots of use every single day. We've actually been getting a lot of softball and baseball youth that want to use our space for that, and it's hard to accommodate them as it is today. There's not room that they can safely practice catching, pitching, and all that type of stuff. We found often they would come during our non-busy hours, and they could use a whole third to themselves. We've gotten to the point that we're not non-busy no more, so there's not time for them. Something we would like to offer moving forward is batting cages for those. They would either be rented per the hour, or for the team can rent them per hour, or we run our own programming clinics out of them. Probably not so much the open gym time frame, but we'll see what we can do moving forward. I got a proposal from the same company, Carter Crompton Incorporated. They're the same ones that put in the 2 dividers we currently have and the 4 basketball nets. That's why I brought him back in again, because he already knows our system, he already knows what we're working with in the ceiling, and also the remotes that we have to control these can all be on the same system through him. I believe that's all I have.
Mayor?
Sorry, Councilman Kurifotis?
I'd like to recommend that the City Council approve the attached quote with Carter Crompton Incorporated of Clio, Michigan to install batting cages in the Radcliffe Gymnasium in the amount of $18,180.
Support. Support from Mayor Pro Tem Dold. Discussion from the table.
Mayor?
Councilmember Dold.
A couple things. On their proposal, there's a note that says all electrical to be done by others. What kind of electrical is going to be needed, and what's the cost we're looking at for that?
Very little. So the way they have it with the remotes is only 1 net can be used at a time with the system that's already in the gymnasium. So you only need 1 circuit. There's already a circuit going around the gymnasium. We believe once he gets up there, because of the relationship with the 2 basketball nets, there actually won't be any electrical work. If there is, then we'll have to move forward with an electrician. We already have an electrician in the building right now with All Phases, so we'll work with them to provide that. Very minimal, if any.
Okay. And on the cover letter, it says the proposal is being presented as a sole source request, but is that truly a sole source? I mean,
yeah, well,
it's 18,000, and we didn't put it out to bid. We're using him because we used him for other projects there. I understand that, and he's familiar with them, but I'm just...
And he was the low bid at that time. When that went out for proposal, he was the lowest of those. We could take this out and go for a sealed proposal for these. That's your guys' wish if you want to. That is, I'm asking for the sole proprietor in this request.
If I could just add, I actually, by charter, I can evaluate and determine if I believe something is a sole source. In this case, they installed the nets, and it's the very same system they installed. We're just doing an add-on, essentially, to their net system. The dividers that exist in the building that separate the courts from the pickleball courts, it's all part of the same system. They'll be tying into the thing they installed with the controls they installed. It is one of those circumstances where if we go outside of this, it'll be someone else coming in and working what was just installed by somebody else. And I have a fear that utilizing a different vendor may not lend a positive result and be able to provide the exact same type of system as we currently put up there. So while I think there could be debate over this, the purpose of sole source is to allow us the convenience of tying into something we just had done in order to expedite. It's done, but it's not necessarily the timing. It's really just mostly related to essentially, I mean, really, we're doing essentially a change order on our net system because we've seen this opportunity. And as I've stated before, we're kind of taking an entrepreneurial approach to our gym. We're trying to do things as low a cost as we can that provide the most amount of revenue. And by utilizing them to do this, it helps move us in that right direction.
Does this whole enclosure actually go up into the ceiling, and that's where it's
Yes.
stored? Okay.
Same as the nets that are up
The
there.
net folds up on itself on top, so it comes actually low enough so you can fold the net up on top, and then you raise the entire net all the way up, so it stores very low profile to the ceiling. And I will say, I did reach out to 2 other vendors. One was not interested in the project in Ohio, and there was another one from Michigan that gave me a rough price that was way more than this one.
Questions answered. Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilmember Karafotis.
Well, one, I think it's a great idea because I think hundreds of Garden City residents go elsewhere. They are driving to Canton and to Novi and everywhere else except for our city. So I think there's the draw to get our own residents and residents from other cities to come here.
Yep.
People are already talking about it. And I think it's a good source of revenue to be used when the gym's not being used. So if anybody has a kid in softball or baseball, they know that every Friday night from 6 to 11, they're taking their kid to practice somewhere. So we don't have that much going on in the gym on Friday nights. This is a perfect revenue source, and the revenue source can be pretty loud and or pretty big, and it can actually help fund some of our other programs. So that's why I like this idea.
Yep, I really hope to offer those clinics when we can on Friday evenings. And then very similar to the way you rent a pavilion now. You go online, you book the hours you want the pavilion, you pay right there, you come in, you use the space. Same thing for this. I like to put both the bays on our sportsman recreation software. You go online, you reserve the bay for the hour that you want it, you pay ahead of time, you come in and use your space. So hopefully really turnkey and something we're already doing everywhere else.
Yeah, Fridays and Sundays are super busy for baseball and softball. So.
Yep, and we did, the parents that we had coming in to practice softball during our low times when we had those about a month or 2 ago, I've kind of talked with each one of them saying, if this is something we did, would you be interested? And they were all very actually excited this was a project to be considered because they often share how far they have to travel to get to an open cage now.
Yeah, the Churchill does it on Friday nights in the winter, and there's probably over 100 girls there every Friday night, and they all get charged $10
Yep.
for a couple hours worth of work. So.
And we have the unique also with the space we have outside the cages. A lot of the places that do have cages today, that is all they have is a cage and a very small place to meet with your team outside of it. We have the full gymnasium. Both cages will fit in 1/3 of the gymnasium with 12 feet in between the two. So we still have 2/3 of the gymnasium that could be rented out by a team if they wanted more practice or space.
And just so the public is clear, the netting stops any balls from damaging the walls or the floor or anything like that. It doesn't do anything except for what's inside the net.
Yep.
I have another question, Mayor.
Councilmember Dole.
I want to show my stupidity, but I never played baseball, so.
Only T-ball myself.
There's a machine involved with this, isn't there, that spews the balls out so you hit them?
Yeah, there can be. There will be 2 other purchases I need to make outside of this, low
Okay,
cost.
so this is just the cage
Yes.
itself and the apparatus, okay.
Yeah, the only other thing we'll need outside this is an L screen, which is what you can pitch behind, and probably something to catch the balls. Those are very low cost, so I didn't include them in this. I want to generate a little revenue with the lanes first, and then purchase a pitching machine. There actually are a few. I was actually talking to GCOA, like if they wanted to use theirs there, and we can kind of try it out and see whether we want a pitching machine or not. Those are a little bit more costly, so I want to generate a little bit of the revenue first, maybe get through the summer and see where we are next winter.
Yep.
But you can still, someone can pitch manually behind an L screen.
Yeah, coach pitch.
All right, thank you.
Further comments from the table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. King. Item 7 is public safety radios. Chief Arnosky.
Good evening. So tonight, I'm here before you to ask about radios. The police officers next door were hoping I'd be here to ask about Glocks and Red Dots, which is the latest cool thing that they're interested in. And I was hoping to be up here and ask for a detective car and a new police car. Unfortunately, we also need police radios, and those take precedence over everybody else's needs. The reason we're here is because the Department of Justice, underneath the FBI, who controls the Criminal Justice Information System, which is part of the computer systems we use, has mandated that all of our radios have to be encrypted by October 2026, or we incur penalties. They haven't offered us any financial relief or anything, so we've been spending the last few years trying to find grants or other ways to finance this thing. And we've come to the conclusion that we're so close to the time frame, by the time we purchase the radios, get them programmed and everything else, we're going to be right around that October 2026 date. So we're coming forward with this resolution, hoping to get it approved in order to be able to comply with the 2026 deadline. So, as I said, the reason we're trying to secure this critical communications equipment with the minimal amount of impact on the city's limited budget resources. So we're looking at a 7-year lease-to-own agreement with Motorola. It incurs a interest rate, so we would be looking at seven payments of $90,356.86 over the course of 7 years. There is no early payment penalties or anything, so if we found money, we could pay it off earlier and suffer no penalties. But this is the best solution for us to be able to postpone it as long as we can before we make a payment. So the lease agreement with Motorola Solutions for public safety radios is a strategic plan advancing our goal to create a resilient, safe, connected, and prepared city. It's so important that we're able to communicate with each other, let alone all of our neighboring cities. And if everybody else is encrypted and we're not going to be able to know what's going on. They're not going to be able to hear us. So we have to stay in the game. So the departments were able to secure manufacturing discounts of nearly $308,317.31 and avoid any more equipment price increases, which results in additional approximate cost savings that we won't see, but the cost of the radios won't go up anymore because we'll be locked in on it. Some of the discounts we were able to obtain as we partnered with the fire department, we were able to get another 5% off the price of the radios because we increased the amount that we were going to buy as a group. Some of the other things that were offered to us is, I like this one, is they're buying our old radios back. So we're going to be able to do like a turn-in program and receive some money from them. That's a big one because these radios won't have any use for any of us after October 2026. And I have 2 milk crates full of our old preps, which were good to have because they could still be used with the new preps that we currently have. But after the 26th of October, it won't make a difference. So it's nice to be able to get some money back from them. So the majority of the current police department radios were purchased somewhere around December 2013, 2014, and have exceeded their useful life. Additionally, radio replacement parts are no longer manufactured, making radio repairs nearly impossible. The new radios also address the Department of Justice mandates, which I already covered. One thing I'll say is the preps that we have now, we had one that was broken. Lieutenant Cover was able to get it fixed, but it's because he knows people who fix radios on the side and were able to do it, and it didn't cost us anything. But the estimate we got was about $700 to fix a prep radio. So it'll be nice to get rid of that and be able to have a warranty on them and get them fixed for nothing. So the existing public safety radios have exceeded their useful life. See, I got this in here a lot. And replacement parts are no longer manufactured. The new Motorola Solution radios have mandated encryption, enhanced operability between the police and fire departments, and will ensure reliable communications between the city call center and personnel responding to in-progress emergencies and requests for services. The 7-year lease agreement with Motorola Solution represents the best solution to address the deficiencies in the existing radio systems at the least possible annual allocation of resources. So the police and fire department, we've weighed the upfront purchase of the radios and compared the budget impacts to have the smaller payments of less than $100,000 versus the one-time purchase of over $500,000. And the lower annual payments are more easily supported by our available ongoing revenue streams and has a significant impact on the lease decision that we chose. So I would ask tonight that you approve the purchase of these police radios. And before we go any further, I do want to recognize Lieutenant Culver for his time and effort he's put on this. He's probably spent the last year calling departments, looking for grants, going back and forth with Motorola, trying to get us the best deal. I was getting emails in the middle of the night most of the time that says, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. I tried this, it looks like we might work. So I just wanted to recognize the time and effort he put in to get us to where we're at today. So
Thanks, Nate.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the lease agreement with Motorola Solutions for radios and necessary radio equipment to support the public safety radio systems identified as police and fire department radios over the entire term of the lease agreement, consisting of 7 annual payments estimated at $90,356.86 and not to exceed $632,498.20, interest included, and a one-time activation cost to Michigan Public Safety Communications System, or MPSCS, in the amount of $18,000 for a total cost for police and fire department radios in the amount of $650,498.20, and to approve a budget amendment to the forfeiture fund to appropriate funds for the purchase outlined above.
Support. Support for Mayor Pro Tem Dole. I will say, I've been going to conferences for the last couple of years, and this has been like a huge discussion amongst mayors all over the place. And none of us were real thrilled because the feds federally mandated this with no way for anybody to pay for it or any grant money available. And so everybody's scrambling to try and find money, and it's been a real point of contention all over the state. Anywhere we go, everybody has the same complaint. So thank you to Lieutenant Culver for his work and Chief for you bringing it forward. Further comments from table?
Mayor?
Councilmember Hughes.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, Chief. I would think that the advantage of, besides spreading out the cost, as opposed to if we were to pay for the outright, I read through here, and it includes repairs and replacements and software updates. Is that correct?
Yep, has warranty on all of them.
And if we weren't doing it through a lease, if one broke down, we would have to pay out of pocket to repair them?
I'm not sure.
Past the warranty date?
Yeah, past the warranty date, for sure.
And then also, what if we have to add on radios? Is there a provision in the contract that we can add on at a certain rate?
I'll let Lieutenant Culver ask that.
Thank
you.
Hi, thanks. Yes, there's a provision we could add on if necessary.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mayor?
Further, Councilmember Witt.
So,
You might as well stay up.
I'm going to knock on wood, but let's say money does fall into our lap. In the proposed resolution, it was interest included. If we happen to pay it off early, are we not incurring the interest of the later on years? Or are we still getting hit with it regardless because we chose the payments?
From what I understand, we can pay it off early with no penalties. So there shouldn't be any interest attached since there's no penalties for the early payment.
Okay. Principal off and the interest.
Yep.
Councilmember Dole.
Just have to look at you now, right? So if this is approved tonight, when are you looking at purchasing them? Before the budget year ends?
Yeah, we would start to move on this right away and attempt to draw up everything with Motorola to get moving forward.
Okay. And I just ask because it does say that the first payment's due a year after the contract, so it would be before this budget year ends, though. So we do need to look at it in this upcoming budget.
Correct.
Correct. Then the next budget year, as we're proposing right now, it would be paid.
Right.
It would be paid in the 26-27 fiscal
Right.
year.
So the other radios lasted, what, about 13, 14 years?
Yeah, from the time we got them, purchased them, yes.
What's the average radio life if the federal government doesn't mess with us?
That's a hard one for me to answer. The milk crates I told you that have the prep radios in them from before we got the ones we currently have still work. They're just old, and the new ones are smaller and have more technology, but they still work. So 20 years,
so
without
quite a
being
while.
told that the manufacturer doesn't want to support them anymore.
Okay. And last but not least, and maybe this is more for the city manager, but in here, they're talking about appropriating the funds from the forfeiture funds to can't speak for some reason, to purchase the radios. So what are we looking at in the forfeiture fund right now?
We have sufficient money in the forfeiture fund to make these payments, probably throughout the entirety of the contract. If we did it all right now, it would eat up nearly the entire forfeiture fund. But it is because of our activity and our connection to equitable sharing through our involvement with DEA Task Force, we do have a pretty consistent flow of money over the next number of years coming in. That one of the reasons I was okay with utilizing the lease and the interest is, as those roll in, we'll attempt to pay this down faster, but also it won't put us in a position where remember, cash flow is always a concern of ours. We learned that with the water fund, we learned that with our general fund, is that we'll still maintain healthy cash flow and amounts in our federal forfeiture, be able to pay those out of it, and hopefully as more rolls in that we're actually owed from prior activity, that it'll essentially cover, but also keep us in a position where if we had an unexpected damage to our fleet or some other cost that comes up that it becomes mandated, we still have sufficient capital to make that and give us some time to adjust. So our goal is to pay it off as soon as possible, but in a way that's, keeps us, our account balances safe for anything we don't know is going to happen, the unknown unknowns. So
I have a question about that.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
I have a question about that. So you said that money that we're using from the forfeiture, we get that only when we have an officer working in the DEA?
Correct. We get it based on that officer's connection to a particular case. So if an officer is connected to a large seizure of drugs and proceeds, it's split amongst the DEA and the officers within the task force. So because we were involved from, I think, 2019 until staffing caused us to reduce.
Right, we don't have anybody in there now.
We don't have it now, but it is 100% the chief's intent to at least get one person back in.
Okay, that's my next question.
We are still having proceeds roll in because the forfeiture process, it's up to a 4 to 5 year process. So things we did in 2020, 2021, we were involved in, are still listed as essentially booked for part of that coming to us. So we're still receiving those funds, and in fact, this last year, we received a tremendous amount, really from activity from 22, 23. So what we're hoping is those funds continue. We were able to put an officer back out. They continue to do excellent work, and as an added bonus, help us get these radios taken care of.
I just want to add, too, is we still have somebody that doesn't work for us, but that's out there that still advocates for us. So our K-9 officer sometimes assists on some of these activities, and they put them in for a piece of the forfeiture. It's not as big as if it was their whole case, but so we still kind of generate some revenue that way also.
Yeah, our connection is still strong.
And do we have planned in the next couple of years to put someone back on that task force?
Oh,
right?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Doesn't that count as 2 officers?
For the K-9?
K-9?
Yeah. I like your math.
Further comments from the table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Okay, item 8 is 21st District Court Computer and Technological Equipment Upgrade. I'll call Court Administrator, Mr. Brandon Krupe.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was here a couple weeks ago for the budget presentation, and I mentioned that the court was looking to upgrade our computers and some technological equipment, and that's what I'm here for today. I know the budget presentation was for next fiscal year, however, with this ask is to use funds from our court building fund and not out of the general fund.
Motion is in order.
Mayor?
Councilmember Dole.
To motion to approve the purchase of desktop computers, and laptop docking stations from CDWG and a network video recorder workstation and upgraded camera licenses from DA Central in the total amount of $19,557.36, with the funds to be derived from the Court Building Fund, and approve budget amendment to the Court Building Fund to appropriate funds for the purchase outlined above.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Karafotis. Discussion from the table.
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
please tell me this includes the computers that do the Zoom?
What's that? I'm sorry.
This includes the computers that do the Zoom?
It's all of our workstations. So the computers that do the Zoom are part of that. The Zoom itself, yeah.
I've just been
to
in court
answer-
when
yes.
someone's doing that, and it's been an awful connection and stuff, so they're always saying how they need new ones, so.
Further discussion from the table. From public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9 is the on-street sales for the American Legion Riders. Mr. Smith?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The clerk's office did receive a request from the American Legion Riders for approval for on-street sales for the annual Paper Flag fundraiser. On your sheet in front of you, I just want to point out that the dates listed, it says June 2nd, June 13th, and June 13th. So it should really be June 12th, Friday, June 12th, Saturday, June 13th, and Sunday, June 14th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The irony of me messing up the date of Flag Day is not lost on me on the flag sale fundraiser. The intersections would be Ford and Middlebelt, Ford and Merriman, Ford and Vinoy, and Middlebelt and Warren. Prior to the sale fundraiser, they will provide hold harmless agreements to our office for anyone participating in the sale.
Mine has June 12th.
Okay.
So, if anybody else's. Okay, motion is in
Mayor?
order. Who said that?
Sorry, Mayor,
Councilmember King.
Didn't sound like you.
throw my voice. I move to grant approval to the American Legion Riders to hold their annual Paper Flag fundraiser on Friday, June 12th, Saturday, June 13th, and Sunday, June 14th, from 9 to 5 p.m. at the intersection of Ford and Middlebelt, Ford and Merriman, Ford and Vinoy, and Middlebelt and Warren, subject to the receipt of a valid hold harmless agreement by each participant in accordance with the city policy of on-street sales.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Hughes. Discussion from the table.
I have a question.
Councilmember Dole.
I could very well be wrong on this, but I thought that insurance was also required.
I can look into it.
Okay, proof of insurance, I believe, is required, and I also believe that the hours were 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., not 9 to 5.
For their specific request, or?
For anybody doing on-street sales.
I would have to go back and look and see. I think it was, last year's approval was 9 to 5 as well.
But I'm pretty sure our on-street policy states 8 to 4. Pretty sure. But I would like it checked because there's other organizations that use this, and if that's the case, we just need to be sure what this policy says. But I am sure that it does require insurance, that the city gets a copy of their insurance.
Okay, we can look into that. So if we want to
Prove it with, on the contingency that he validates the hours.
Correct.
And okay.
Yep. Okay. Further comments from table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 10 is our capital improvement plan, and this is just a call for a public hearing.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
move to call for a public hearing for Monday, April 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m. to receive comments on the proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 5-year capital improvement plan.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Dole. Comments from table on just calling for the public hearing. From the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 11 is just the receipt of proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget.
Mayor,
Councilmember King.
I move to approve receipt of a proposal fiscal year 2026-2027 budget and accompanying city manager message.
Support.
support from Mayor Pro Tem Dole. And again, this is just a motion that we received the proposal. Further discussion from table. From public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we have no other business. Item 13 is public comment on non-agenda items. If you wish to speak, it is a time to make comment, and if it's a question we can answer, we'll answer it. If not, we'll get back to you. Anybody wishing to speak?
I wanted to say, finally, Dylan showed up a couple of weeks ago, and, I found our federal House of Representatives, Toshiba. I finally found her. I was going to file a missing in person action, but I think about 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks ago, she showed up in either Oakland or Macomb County to protest ICE, because they was going to take a vote to ban ICE, which we all know is a bunch of, it's foolish. You can't ban the federal marshal from the state of Michigan or the county. But I found her. I was so shocked when I saw her on TV. Well, we all know what that is. Tell her, how about coming down here and see old David? I talked to you ever down there. I don't think I'll see her, but, and actually, this is the only representatives I've got. I got to be honest with you. As far as the state and the county and the federal, they don't represent me. Unfortunately, I'm stuck with them. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Further comments from the public? Okay, City Manager, your report, Mr. Gibbons.
Nothing too much, Your Honor. Just wanted to thank the judge from the Third Circuit Court. I found that very informative, and it's good to see them visiting us, and really appreciate all the work they do down there. And it's just good to communicate and come out to our local area and reach out. Also, just thanks to John Hennessy, Tony from Hard Rock, and Brad. These decisions on our roads aren't easy. It's tough. We have to decide, do we seal the concrete, or do we save the money and save towards another road? There's no crystal balls that tell us what the perfect answers are. But what I can say is, and I compliment council and them, the process is what we can control. We can control that we deliberate these things, we come and make the best decisions we can with the information we have. A lot of what they say we go out and confirm, but we'll do our best to judiciously spend our road bond money and our Act 51 money. We hear the residents that Maplewood is a problem. John Hawk, Hartel, Pardo are problems. I drive them as often as I can to remind myself, and I was just on them today, and I'll be glad to see them getting fixed this summer. So excited to see that getting done. And just lastly, advocating the Police Citizens Academy. If you haven't done it, you wouldn't think it would be as much fun as it is, but I watched every class that's come through that I was a part of. Just thoroughly enjoy it, and it's crazy that we extend the hours because people just didn't want to leave because they would enjoy everything, which is a really testament to our officers and our citizens who want to be that engaged. It's just a win for everybody. So, I think that's it. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Mr. Smith.
Nothing further this evening.
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
I just wanted to mention a little bit about the Radcliffe Center. If you haven't been over there yet, which is hard to believe, you're missing out on so much. Council and the head of departments, as well as the city manager, have done a fantastic job to give you a wide variety of things to do. You got the gym, the cooking kitchen, dance classes, arthritis classes, and I can go on and on and on. Get over there and check it out. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Hughes.
I want to thank both police chief and fire chief in your department for looking for money for those radios, and Lieutenant Cover for the hard work you put into this. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Councilmember Witt.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember King.
I also like to, I guess, second what city manager was talking about regarding Hard Rock Concrete and Hennessy and Brad all working together to come up with a better plan to prolong our pavement. I do think the sealant's pricey, however, I think it's the right way to go. It's hard to go throughout the city replacing roads if we just had to come back to roads we just did within a couple years back. So hopefully this is the right move and our roads will hold up longer. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Dole.
Ditto to all the thanks for everybody. Everybody continues to do a fantastic job, so I do appreciate it. Tickets for Frozen are on sale at ludus.com, Garden City High School. Don't miss this one. It's going to be fantastic. And last but not least, the fire down the street. Now that the weather's getting warmer, the fencing is almost to the road. We're already seeing a lot of kids walk, but with weather getting warmer, they're going to be walking even more. Everybody remembers a few years ago, the kid that lost his life. It wasn't Garden City, but, you know, he stepped off the curb, and I can just see this being a huge safety issue. Can you tell us what's the holdup? Why is this not getting cleaned up on the outside and get that fence pushed back?
I can speak on his behalf. So there is an ordinance that requires a time frame for them to move on the building, whether they're going to repair it or it's going to be torn down. There was some investigation going on in the building, so the insurance company was holding it up. In the last couple weeks, we have contacted the building owner. They have secured a contractor to demolish the building. They're waiting on some information from DTE to confirm that the services are off before they can start that process. The reason that the fence is still up there, I know I've spoke to a couple people, is the overhang there is not secured on the building. To take that down and to clear the sidewalk, we're concerned that some stuff may fall if people are walking under there. So we're doing it just for the safety of the public, but that is in process of getting torn down. We're just waiting on some things to be finished up prior to the start of demolition.
In the meantime, though, can't they clean up that whole front and move the fence in so someone could walk by? I mean, that whole lawn is...
You'd still have the fence up, just move it in a little bit, give them a little bit more room.
It looks awful, too. I mean, it does.
I agree.
I mean, who knows how long that's going to take for them to secure this contract and stuff. So if it's another 3 months, we're driving by seeing that every day and people are still walking in the street.
They're waiting on, as I was told, is they're waiting on information from DTE to confirm that the utilities have been disconnected, that the contractor can't start their process until that. But they have a contractor secured, is what I was told.
No one likes waiting on DTE.
No, I understand.
So we're going to be on them, though.
Yes.
Getting it
Our fire
cleaned
marshal's
up and
been
done.
with the building owner on a weekly basis, so.
Okay, all right, thank you for that.
And I could verify, the building owner was in last week, and I had contact with her in the city hall hallway. She indicated, and she just had, right after she saw me, she met with the city fire marshal, so they are working on it. We can have someone examine the fence. Our fear is that those walls are compromised, so there's a certain amount of distance we need them to keep from that building. So, but we can definitely take a look and see if the fence needs to be that far or not.
And clean it up.
These kids are going to step right out into the road
It
and
is,
go around it, you know, and...
We are in a real rock and hard place right there right now because it is not comfortable watching them go around the fence, but at the same time, close to that building has its own dangers too. But we'll for sure reach out and find out if that fence can be moved in closer to get them a little farther away from Middle Belt at the very least.
Thank you, that's all I had.
Thank you. Councilmember Karafotis.
I just had a couple questions for the city manager. I know it's snowing today, but is there a timeline on when the roads are supposed to start? Like, is it April, May, June?
You know, I know for Maplewood, we've talked about June. That is the beginning.
Is that going to be the first street done, or we're starting other streets before then?
I think we need some pre-construction meetings to get the dates completely set now that the contract has been agreed to by council. So we can provide some updated information. Also, I received a call from a resident on that note that we'll do our best to put in the buzz these upcoming road projects to make sure that's getting out there and do a little more advertising of when. Now that the contracts and we know which roads are being selected, we can put that out there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people concerned if they're living on Maplewood and they have graduation parties or whatever happening, you know, they need to make their plans ahead of time, so.
We'll do our best to update them. No problem.
And the only other thing I wanted to say is to the residents that contact me with issues, just know that I do talk to the city manager about those problems, and they are getting work done.
Thank you. I just have a couple things. One, Mr. Ullman, while you're here, do you have any dates on street sweeping for the spring? Not yet. Okay. As soon as we get that, can we get that? Because I know a lot of people want to Some actually care and will clean up the street themselves, but if street sweeping's coming 2 weeks, whatever, they don't have to. So, thank you. And also, last thing is my condolences to the Taube family on their loss. Happened just recently, so sorry for that. No further business. This meeting is adjourned.